Welcome back to True Echo, where the unheard stories of resilience, justice, and poetic redemption take center stage. Today, we bring you a powerful tale of grace under fire. When a billionaire CEO tried to mock a janitor in front of a wealthy crowd, he had no idea she once graced the world's greatest ballet stages. What happened next silenced the room and shook his empire. The ballroom shimmered like something out of a fantasy. Crystal chandeliers throwing sharp light across imported marble floors, champagne bubbling in fluted glasses, and self-satisfied grins exchanged between suits with too many zeros in their portfolios. It was Glassford International's annual shareholder appreciation gala, a name as bloated as the egos in the room. Everything was polished, manicured, curated for optics. And in the middle of it all, holding court like a king among jesters, stood Braxton Kilmer, CEO and poster boy for ambition dressed in velvet. He was charming in that way only the truly arrogant can be, flashing his white teeth, toasting to synergy, and making everyone feel like they were just lucky to bask in his presence. He'd built his reputation on charisma and cutthroat precision. He wore his confidence like armor, always one joke away from taking a jab, always one step ahead. But on this night, he'd make one step too far. In the far corner, mostly hidden behind towering floral centerpieces, stood Odessa Brinkley, 66 years old, soft-spoken, uniform faded from hundreds of washes, and posture straight as a line of sheet music. She wasn't mingling or networking. She was working. She'd noticed a slight wobble in one of the dessert tables earlier and had stayed past her shift to make sure nobody tripped. Odessa had been at Glassford 12 years. She knew the layout of the building better than any VP. She didn't speak often, but when she did, it was with clarity and calm. She didn't need the wine. She didn't need the praise. She had her broom, her thermos of ginger tea, and a quiet dignity no salary could purchase. The speeches began around 9 p.m. Braxton grabbed the mic like a game show host, pacing near the stage, the spotlight following his every exaggerated gesture. He toasted departments, thanked investors, and threw in a few humble brags about this quarter's record growth. Then he pivoted, smiling wide. And let's not forget the real MVPs, he said, voice dripping with irony. The cleaning crew. Keeping it spotless while the rest of us make the big moves. A few chuckled, others glanced down, unsure whether to laugh. Then he saw her. Odessa. Standing by the buffet. Quiet. Watching. Odessa. Braxton called. Come on up. Give us a little dance, would you? Let's see those moves. Laughter bubbled through the room. Uneasy. Some people filmed, half expecting a viral moment, half hoping they wouldn't feel dirty afterward. Odessa didn't flinch. For a moment, she simply stood. Broom in hand. Then she set it down carefully, walked to the center of the floor, and without a single word or smile, she danced. Not awkwardly. Not for laughs. She turned, pirouette. Then another. Her body aligned perfectly, leg rising in a slow develop, arms lifting with flawless line. She didn't perform. She floated. Even in worn sneakers. The room went dead silent. Someone gasped. Someone dropped their fork. And Braxton? His smirk twisted into something uncertain. Then nothing. Just shock. When she finished, Odessa bowed slightly, nothing dramatic, just enough, and picked up her broom again. She didn't look back. She didn't have to. The silence spoke louder than applause. The moment had landed, and something cracked in the room's perfectly rehearsed arrogance. Phones kept recording. And by the time Odessa reached the service hallway, whispers had already begun. Not mocking. Not confused. Awed. The clip hit social media like a match to dry leaves. The first post came from a new hire named Kendall, who captioned it, CEO mocks janitor. Janitor teaches him a lesson in elegance. In under an hour, it had 200,000 views. Odessa, meanwhile, was halfway home on the night bus, sandwich in her bag, worn copy of The Bluest Eye in her hand. When a teenager across the aisle glanced between her phone and Odessa's face and asked, "Was that you?" Odessa merely replied, "I suppose it was." She didn't smile. She didn't need to. By morning, her phone was ringing off the hook. Her niece Riel called from Shreveport, breathless. "Auntie Des. You're everywhere. The Today Show. Reddit. TikTok. There's a meme. You swept the floor and the room." Odessa wasn't amused. "You remember when your mama used to say some spotlights burn too hot?" she asked quietly. Riel's laughter faded. "Yeah, you think this is one of those?" "I think I've been burned before," Odessa said. The next wave wasn't just attention. It was analysis. Bloggers called her the cleaning swan. Think pieces sprouted overnight, the mockery of labor and the grace of Odessa Brinkley. Dancers from major companies chimed in. "You don't learn control like that without discipline." In one moment, the public had shifted focus. Not on Braxton's joke, but on the woman he underestimated. By 11 a.m., Glassford's PR team was in full meltdown mode. Braxton, groggy and dismissive, brushed it off. "It's a clip. People forget these things." His comms director, Linus Breyer, shook his head. "Sir, this is different. You're the villain in a story that's writing itself." Braxton scoffed. "You're all overreacting. Nobody cares about a janitor." But people did care. And that care was growing into a wave he couldn't contain. By midday, even CNN had picked up the story. Odessa? She was folding laundry. Her hands, still calloused from years of work, didn't tremble. She deleted voicemails, turned off her ringer, and sipped tea. But she wasn't unaffected. That night, she opened a cedar box beneath her bed. Inside, point shoes. Yellowed, cracked. She hadn't touched them in years. But her fingers remembered. Every stitch. Every blister. And when her old colleague Madison called out of the blue, "Odessa? Is that you? Girl, you still got it." Odessa whispered something she hadn't said in decades, "Thank you. Not for the compliment. But for remembering who she used to be." Monday morning arrived like a cold slap to Glassford International's corporate ego. Their stock had dipped nearly 3% over the weekend. Not a crash, but enough to trigger investor phone calls and internal panic. Braxton Kilmer swaggered into the office wearing sunglasses indoors, sipping iced coffee as if none of it mattered. He was about to find out otherwise. The board was furious, not because Odessa had danced, but because Braxton had mocked her, and the world saw it. Their CEO was now a symbol of everything the public despised about corporate America, entitled, tone-deaf, disrespectful. Behind closed doors, a strategy was forming. "You need to meet with her," Linus urged. "Face to face. Make it personal." Braxton scoffed. "With the janitor? With the woman whose grace just humiliated you in front of the entire internet?" Eventually, Braxton caved. At 2:30 p.m., Odessa was summoned to the executive lounge on the 15th floor, a sleek glass-walled room that screamed power and money. She entered quietly, not shrinking, not proud, just calm. She wore her faded uniform, hair pulled back like always. Braxton walked in a minute later, fake smile in full display. "Odessa," he said, extending a hand. "Thanks for coming. I know things got blown out of proportion." She didn't shake his hand. "I just wanted to say it was a joke," he said, sitting down. "I didn't mean anything." "No one asked what you meant," Odessa replied. Her voice was steady. Sharp. Braxton's grin faded. "I was just trying to make the night fun." "You weren't trying to share joy. You were trying to get a laugh at someone else's expense," she said. There's a difference. Braxton fumbled. Well, you've gone viral. That has to feel good. Odessa narrowed her eyes. You think being seen is a reward. That's your problem. She stood slowly. I don't need your apology. I needed your respect. But I've lived just fine without it from men like you. And she left him sitting there, speechless. The PR statement Braxton posted that evening was a disaster. It read like it was written by AI, polished, vague, meaningless. I apologize if my words were taken the wrong way. The comments roasted him. This isn't an apology. She embarrassed you with elegance. You can't fake that. At her kitchen table, Odessa didn't even read the statement. Her niece did. He said he respects you, Riel said, scoffing. Odessa smiled without humor. He respects what people saw in me. Not what I am. Riel leaned in. And what are you, Auntie? I'm someone who stopped dancing for applause a long time ago. By Wednesday, the wave hadn't crested. It had built into a quiet storm that reached deep into Odessa's past. Flowers arrived at her door, from Claudine Yates, a former tour mate from her ballet days. A letter in beautiful cursive was tucked inside. Des, I saw your video. I cried. You still move like the music's under your feet. She read it twice. Then placed it beside her old point shoes. Riel visited that weekend, tablet in hand. Come on. Just watch one more. Odessa watched. Slowly. The spin. The lift. Her own face, older, softer, but strong. Unshaken. You look real, Riel said. No, Odessa corrected. I look like I never stopped. That same night, her old cassette player crackled to life. She played a tape labeled Elijah. March 1993. Her husband's voice, gentle and low. You don't need no stage. But baby, you were born to move, don't ever let a room full of suits decide when you stop dancing. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks. He was right. At the Dunlap Center for the Performing Arts in Tulsa, a voicemail waited. They wanted her to mentor young dancers. She hadn't said yes. Not yet. But she didn't delete the message either. Glassford International's board was now in full damage control. Serena Klein, the new board member with a spine of steel, led a closed-door meeting. 6 people. One agenda. Braxton has to go, she said flatly. Some protested. He grew this company. And destroyed its integrity in 29 seconds, she replied. Investors were leaving. Sponsors were backing out. And journalists were calling it the Brinkley effect. Braxton heard about it while alone in his executive lounge, the headline glowing from his phone screen. How a janitor's dance put a CEO on the edge. Upstairs, plans for leadership transition were already underway. Downstairs, Odessa was mopping the breakroom floor. Someone from accounting, Glenn, walked in, coffee in hand. I know this might sound weird, he said, but thank you. For what? She asked. For reminding us it's okay not to be invisible. She nodded once. Then kept mopping. Later that day, Serena called Linus. It's time. That Friday, the board voted unanimously. Braxton Kilmer was asked to resign. It would be official by Monday. That Saturday, at the Dunlap Center, a quiet tribute was held. No banners. No announcements. Just students, staff, and those who knew. Odessa agreed under one condition, no spotlight. Just the floor. She wore a gray top, black pants, her old ballet shoes worn thin. A cello played, the same aching melody she once danced to in her youth. And she moved, not for cameras. Not for a viral clip. But for Elijah. For herself. For every invisible person who carried quiet strength. When she stopped, the room held its breath. Then Hollis, her sharpest student, whispered, "Thank you." That applause was different. Not for performance. For presence. Later, she received a message from Linus. "Braxton has officially resigned. Just thought you should know." She read it once. Then turned off her phone. No need to celebrate. She had already known. You don't mock grace and walk away unscathed. Monday morning, Glassford's leadership page replaced Braxton's name with "Interim CEO." The press spun cautious headlines. But none of them named her. They didn't have to. Odessa returned to her routine, weeknights mopping floors, Sundays and Tuesdays teaching movement. The halls had changed. People nodded now. Spoke her name with respect. Some apologized. Some watched her like they were seeing her for the first time. And she? She walked with the same steady grace. She wasn't seeking praise. She was holding space. At the studio, her students learned more than just steps. Balance, she said, is knowing where your weight is. In your body, and in your pride. At the end of each session, she gave them 5 minutes to move freely. No mirrors. No choreography. Find your own rhythm, she told them. Not the one others expect. The one that's yours. And they danced. Some clumsy. Some graceful. All honest. Because in the end, Odessa Brinkley didn't go viral for what she did. She did it for how she stood. Unmoved. Unshaken. Unapologetically whole. In a world obsessed with performance, it was Odessa Brinkley's quiet poise that turned the room. Her story reminds us that grace isn't in the applause, it's in how you carry yourself when no one's watching. Dignity isn't granted by titles or power. It lives in stillness, in truth, in the decision to rise when mocked. If this story moved you, leave a comment below, tell us who your Odessa is. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that their worth was never up for debate. And don't forget to subscribe to True Echo, for the stories that reflect who we really are.